Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the, February. No, just kidding. It is our February 16th, 2022 regular meeting. We are well past the halfway mark of the month already, and it's amazing that February is blown through as quick as it is. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank all the counselors and staff for being here this evening. We had an earlier Urban Renewal Agency meeting today. So we had a nice break. So I commend the commissioners for moving quickly through that agenda to give us a little bit of a reprieve in between meetings. First up on tonight's business is a proclamation for the Iwo Jima Remembrance Day. So whereas on February 23rd, 1945, the country's armed forces were engaged in one of the most strategic and bloodiest battles of World War II, the Battle for Iwo Jima. And whereas the Canby Aurora Veterans of Foreign Wars Post and Auxiliary 6057 of the United States have deemed it fitting to erect a flagpole at the Canby Adult Center in remembrance of those who took part in this great battle. And whereas each year the members of the Canby Aurora Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 6057, their auxiliary, and their fellow veterans organizations and service organizations, which include Lewis and Clark Young Marines, Civil Air Patrol, the Boy Scouts, JROTC, and many others, have conducted a ceremony to rededicate this memorial and replace the flags on the flagpole. And whereas the flagpole located at the Canby Adult Center is the only memorial in the city of Canby dedicated to our veterans who made such significant and personal sacrifices during World War II in defense of this great nation. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim February 19th, 2022 as Iwo Jima Remembrance Day. And I further call upon all members of this community to join in commemorating this great event and celebrate the 76th anniversary of the end of World War II. I know that's in years past, we have done a great ceremony at the Canby Adult Center, and I know COVID has definitely challenged us in being able to continue that tradition. And I thank you for continuing to bring this forward and that we recognize this as our community. So it looks like we've got a few members there in the council chambers, and I'll turn it over to them to say a few words.
Good evening, Mayor Hodson, distinguished council members. My name is Pat Schauer. I'm a member of the Canby VFW, as well as a member of the Vietnam Memorial Committee, as well as working with the Iwo Jima Committee and stuff. I had this big, long speech to prepare tonight and stuff, but so you guys can get home to your family members before 10 o'clock. I'll just end this and say that we are going to have a smaller program this weekend, Saturday out at the memorial. It'll be considerably smaller than what we normally have, just to keep the remembrance alive. We invite any of you out to come out and see us if you'd like to. We'd really appreciate it. And other than that, I just want to thank you for this proclamation. It really means a lot to us. It means a whole lot to the few members that are left still in the Canby area that are Iwo Jima veterans. Irene's dad was one that unfortunately we lost here a while back, and he will be remembered Saturday also. So thank you for the proclamation. I really appreciate it.
Pat, thank you for your kind words. And can you, for the viewing audience and for us here, let us know what time on Saturday and where at if we wanted to come and attend?
Yeah, it's going to be at 10 o'clock, and it'll be out at the Canby Adult Center where it used to be. And last 2 years we had it over at Ackerman Gym, but this year, due to the size and other trying to coordinate other things with Ackerman, we're just going to have it in front of the Adult Center. The center will be open for the restrooms if people need to use that. But yeah, it should be a short ceremony.
All right. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate it.
Thank
Irene,
you.
did you want to address us as well?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Irene, how are you?
Oh, fine. Irene Pacheers here, the auxiliary, and thank you for this opportunity to invite you to the smaller ceremony because of the COVID and everything up in the air, like Pat had mentioned. 10 o'clock, it's smaller. We are having the Marines from the 6th Engineer Battalion, Swan Island. They will be coming to raise and lower and present the flag. My father was in the Battle of Okinawa. He was one of the MIS, Military Intelligence Service, language interpreter interrogators right after Iwo Jima. So the big push to Japan was Battle of Iwo Jima, and then right after that was the Battle of Okinawa, where my father was. So it's wonderful, just like Pat said, is to remember these World War II veterans, and we thank the city for allowing us to, again, 27th year, to remember our veterans of World War II. We're going to be really fortunate. We have a daughter of an Iwo Jima Marine. He was the first wave that went on the island. I believe she'll be coming from Oregon City, and she'll be one of those, along with the mayor and other dignitaries that are to be there to scatter sand on the Iwo Jima sand. So if you guys see her, please say hello and thank her for her dad's service and his sacrifice. And I would be remiss if I didn't welcome and thank Maya. I understand she's the assistant recorder to Melissa, and when she'll be helping me with the proclamations every year. So I wanted to introduce myself in person, and also to welcome her to Melissa and the crew of Canby. So I'm calling them the M&Ms because it's Melissa and Maya. So I have a little gift for you and Melissa, of course. Okay.
Thank you.
And I wonder what it could be. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You guys. Welcome. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. I appreciate it. And I sure do hope that the gift was cans of Spam.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll find out on Saturday.
Save that for you, sir.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is an opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. This is an opportunity for our audience and or citizens of Canby to address the council on non-agenda items. And as of this afternoon, I don't think anyone had signed up. Maya, has that changed at all?
That has not changed.
Okay, thank you. If in the future, if you do want to address the council, please get in touch with Melissa or Maya at the at City Hall, and we'll make sure that you get added to the agenda. Next up is our consent agenda, and the consent agenda this week includes approval of the minutes of the December 15th, 2021 City Council work session, annual liquor license rewards, a new winery at First Location OLCC liquor license for Archetype LLC located at 181 North Grant Street, and then appointment of Eric Van Zant to the Traffic Safety Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes of the December 15, 2021 City Council work session, annual liquor license renewals for the new winery First Location OLCC liquor license for Archetype LLC located at 181 North Grant Street, and the appointment of Eric Van Zant to the Traffic Safety Commission for a term to expire June 30th.
I'll second.
Thank you both. I've got a first and a second. Any discussion or comment regarding the consent agenda? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Councilor Varwig?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 5-0. Thank you all very, very much. Next on our agenda this evening is ordinance number 1568, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Arbor Pro Tree Expert in the amount of $67,500 and declaring an emergency. And this is a second reading. Scott, anything new regarding this?
Thank you, Mayor Hudson and Council. Nothing new. Again, just as a reminder too, it's a second reading and we're asking you to declare this as an emergency. The reason for that emergency is it is a safety and welfare issue in regard to these trees that we're going to have to remove. So we've given you a full report on this a couple of different times. So I'll spare the rest of the details unless you have any other questions for us.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt number 1568, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Arbor Pro Tree Expert in the amount of $67,500 and declaring an emergency.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve ordinance number 1568, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Arbor Pro Tree Expert in the amount of $67,500 and declaring an emergency. Any comments or discussion on this? I missed the last meeting and when we initially talked about this, but so I'll just quickly throw in there that it's unfortunate that we have to go through and eliminate trees in any of our parks or in any area around town, especially some of our older ones. And unfortunately, this is a necessity. We had trees that were damaged in the big ice storm last year. We have a couple of those trees I know are diseased and further becoming an issue. So not something that we want to do. Sometimes it's a have to do. And so hopefully as we get into further along with parks master planning and we look at some of our parks, especially Waite Park, we will be able to, plant new trees and watch them grow and become new shade trees for us in the park in the future. So not one of our more favorite things that we do as a council sometimes, but definitely necessary. So this is a roll call vote. Maya, I'll let you run the list.
Council President Hensley. Aye. Councilor Bajorn.
Aye.
Councilor Parker.
Aye.
Councilor Spoon.
Aye.
And Councilor Barwick.
Aye.
Looks like that passes 5-0. Great. Moving to mayor's business, just kind of catch everybody up on a couple of things. So like I said earlier, missed the last couple of meetings due to the day job getting in the way. It happens sometimes. I work in assisted living, and so sometimes pandemics supersede city council meetings for me. So, but I'm glad to be back, and thank you, Council President Hensley, and all of you all for holding down the fort. I want to say congratulations to Carol Palmer for being recognized as one of our hometown heroes at our last meeting. I think that is a well-deserved honor. So Carol, congratulations on that. And congratulations to our new Planning Commission board members and the new chair and vice chair for that group as well. Last night, there was a Park and Rec Advisory Board meeting. We had a presentation from COGEO and the OYSA, so the Oregon Youth Soccer Association presentation. And so just talking about a potential for development opportunity. I know it's come up a couple of times in council meetings and whatnot. And so the Park and Rec Board is asked to hopefully add that to an agenda or work session piece for us to hear more from them or hear a presentation and ask them some questions about what it is that's being discussed. Regarding that, let's see, we had updates on the restrooms at Community Park. Staff is working on designs for said restrooms in Community Park. We also had an update regarding the park naming. So they're working on reaching out to a couple of different cities and coming up with some procedures and protocols on and just how we want to maybe go about that in naming our parks piece. And then finally, we had an update on the park master plan. There was conversation on some of the initial findings so far of the park master plan. And then the next piece that they will be bringing back will be some goals, objectives, and action items regarding the master plan. So we're going to start to see this coming together here pretty soon for a presentation to us here at the council coming up. So that next phase that they're going to be working on are those goals and objectives and action items pieces. On the C4 front, so the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, we just had an update on the legislative review. So as we know, the legislature is in session right now. So we just had a review on a couple of items that were pertinent to Clackamas County, which is really the big one is funding of 205 and tolling, which led into a bigger conversation about C4 had sent a letter to the Oregon Transportation Commission regarding the tolling piece and diversion items that needed to be addressed. And the letter was answered by a staff member of ODOT, which is not who it was addressed to. So C4 wrote a different letter with a little bit more, we'll say, pronounced language and asked that it be answered by OTC and not ODOT staff, since that's who we addressed it to and who we felt are making the decision and guidance regarding tolling. And really the letter was about looking at using some of the federal dollars that came down to the state recently, and that some of those funds be looked at to keep the 205 project moving along and being a funding source, not for the entire project, but at least in some capacity, and not put it solely on the back of tolling. And then also to address the diversion element that's going to happen and what enhancements are going to be needed to be made. So those are a number of big questions that are still out there that haven't been addressed by the OTC, let alone ODOT. And then, so that was really the crux of our C4 meeting a couple weeks ago. And then last but not least, the city council did a goal setting work session this past Friday. We carved out a whole day and spent the time with a lot of fruitful conversation. I appreciate everyone being in attendance and working on a Friday to do that. And so there was a lot of great ideas, a lot of great conversation, and some really clear, I think, objectives and goals to go after. We did bring up at that meeting the opportunity to do a follow-up session with the facilitator, and she is tentatively available for March 9th from 6 to 9. If everyone can jot that down, check your calendars, and get back to Melissa and Maya if that's a date and time that would work for you all. That is I'm sorry?
Repeat the day and time.
Sure can. It's Wednesday, March 9th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It is typically an off Wednesday for us. An off Wednesday meeting for the council, not necessarily in our daily lives. So take a look at your calendars and see if that's something that can work. But yeah, so that I think concludes what I've got. I also, so we'll move into councilor comments and liaison reports. And I'm actually going to find my information here. So I'm going to start with Counselor Bangs, he is not here this evening. He's got an excused absence for tonight, but he did send me a just brief update on his liaison stuff, and so I thought and he asked me just to read it, and so so the first one up is regarding the retirement. Many of you may have heard that our principal, Greg Denza, is retiring at the end of the school year. I thank Greg for his, Principal Denza for his hard work. He's been I think a very good principal, and I've enjoyed his bagpipe playing and his presence at Canby High School. So thank you, Principal Denza, for your service. The school district, so as maybe you know, there's the mask piece is changing as of March 31st. And so the school district intends to make masks optional after the state allows it, I guess, beginning the 31st or on April 1st. So the school board has made that decision to make that optional at the schools. The school district is hoping to bring back visitors to the schools, including guest speakers and parent volunteers, and also to once again allow for student field trips. So that's good news as well. I know the last couple of years, one of those things that sixth grade camp that week has been missed by many, and I know a lot of the junior high trips and things have been put on hold as well. So it's good to see that those are coming back. And then also, there remains an acute shortage of bus drivers. So the superintendent at the meeting urged people to apply to Student Transportation of America. And so the school district is looking for, like I said, bus drivers there. And then the school district itself also has a considerable number of vacancies, which is unfortunately very common around the region. Let's see. He does not, Councilor Banks didn't have a library advisory board report at this time. And so that concludes his report. I'll go around my screen, and Councilor Parker, you're right at the 1 o'clock spot on my screen. So you're first, sir.
Well, let me reinforce my own personal position on this 205 tolling thing. I've already explained how I thought ODOT really should have started this with the question of where do we need to expand our roads before they get into the taxation. But here's where we are. And you guys are helping me become much more militant on this, what I'm calling a whack-a-mole of having a diversion through Canby. I would propose, Brian, to C4 and to the Transportation Commission, a carrying study, capacity carrying study on 99 of how much can that road handle. And if they're saying, if the logic is we need to do something on 205 because it's at capacity, is our solution to throw another road into overcapacity. So I am becoming much more militant on this and saying that if you're going to study tolling on 205, you need to study the impacts of that strategy on downstream communities. Okay, second week of the month is my busy month. I've got meetings Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday was the bike committee. And they are continuing to push ahead on plans for the Traverso property, for bike lanes, of the process of moving that forward with as much communication and respect for adjacent property owners as possible. As I often say, every project needs a champion. These guys are all over it. On Tuesday, I had the Historic Landmark Commission. They are working with city staff to finish up the arch for plaques and what those things are going to say. They're also keeping an eye on the old city hall that is in the process of having its plans approved to restore the building to historic accuracy. And the commission seems to be pleased with the direction that the new construction contractor, Emmerich, is headed in on checking in with those. And also, they're going out to get more grant money and have another schedule to clean up Zion Cemetery. And finally, the Adult Center, pardon me, the takeaways from that is that they are going to return to in-person dining and programming, all of the things being equal, starting in March. And there's a real pent-up sense of need for socialization. They tried something new at the Adult Center that they've never tried before because the price point was so high. I think it was $35 per person, but it was to rent a bus and take people up to the Van Gogh exhibit. And within the first 12 hours, it was sold out. And it turns out that one of our unmet needs in the community is a number of people who would like to engage in cultural events but do not want to drive there. So this was kind of a learning point for the Adult Center. That's it.
Councilor Parker, thank you. A follow-up question to that, and maybe I don't know if this would fall under, Councilor Spoon, you're the liaison to Canby Area Transit. I don't know if this maybe that's something too. I know that the Adult Center has their bus, but in something like that where it sells out that quickly, I don't know if there's a Adult Center Canby Area Transit partnership piece. Whether, because I know we've got a couple of smaller buses, we have some of the bigger, but I don't know if that's something that can be partnered that way. I don't know if that's more of a city manager, CAT director conversation to have, but it's just something that kind of came across.
Yeah, that might be, but I'm happy to reach out to Todd and let him know that it kind of came up as a topic and to see if there's an opportunity to reach out or a means, or if that's appropriate given their resources, for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I attended that Van Gogh exhibit and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was wonderful. Wonderful. It's not very, it's about, hour and a half, 2 hours of just being able to just kind of take it all in. And he's one of my wife's favorite artists. So it was a fun afternoon to go see that. So I could see why that sold out pretty quickly. So thanks, Greg.
Well, it's also a takeaway. I mean, we nibble around the edges about our changing demographics and aging population, and to keep a vibrant citizenry in touch with arts and that sort of thing. This for the Adult Center's director, Kathy, she said this was a lesson learned, that there, first of all, that there is a economic strata of people out there who are willing to invest that much money into a trip. She talked about how one of the people was able to arrange for a care for her husband in order for her to go up to Portland, but she said she never would have done it because she didn't have transportation otherwise. So, it makes you proud of our kind of affiliation with the Adult Center in the services that they give to our citizens.
For sure. Thank you, Councilor Parker. I appreciate it. Councilor Bajoran.
Thank you. CUB met on the 8th. A couple of things that were covered. They've updated their anti-discrimination, anti-harassment, equal employment opportunity policies to comply with state law in full. So, good to see them keeping up on things that can easily be overlooked like that. And then there were some questions that I had about the Malala River watershed and discharge, how we're keeping up with that and things like that. For my own information, there was a quick response on that. And then some follow-up in the meeting as well to further cover what was sent. So nice to see how responsive the board is on those kinds of questions and information gathering. And then one other thing is that they're working on a water master plan. Obviously, as our newer projects are expanding, water has to be keeping up with that. So the master plan has to be updated to keep up, and they are in the process of getting that rolling.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Bajorn. Appreciate it. Councilor Spoon.
Thank you, Mayor Hodson. I don't have any liaison reports, but I did have a question and maybe some feedback about a work session with Kogio regarding the ballpark, since you brought it up. I was just kind of thinking, like we just talked about in the URA, we have a lot of work sessions backed up for work of the city, and I'm not sure what the relationship between the city and this particular project would be. It might be better served as a scheduled presentation during a meeting, so that we can make sure that our work session time is saved for the actual business that we're conducting. But I am certainly excited to hear from them. My thought, since you mentioned work session or presentation, would be that, a presentation where they have more than 3 minutes seems appropriate, but I would prefer to keep our work sessions to the work we're trying to conduct.
I agree, and thank you for that. And yes, a presentation would be more suited than a work session. So I agree with you on that. So, I mean, it's still such an early on conversation that it's more of a presentation anyways than a work session. So yes, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Councilor Varwig.
Thank you. Yeah, Greg, the Adult Center, that's great that they're going back to in-person stuff. My parents recently moved to town, and one of the things that my mom has said is that she finds herself a little bit depressed in not having friends anymore. And they've been attending the bingo and at the Adult Center, and it's been really helpful for them. And my dad's looking forward to maybe joining the Pinochle group next week. So super excited to see more stuff happening there. And please give them my thanks for sure for taking good care of my parents. As far as the fire board, you guys might have noticed the walls are starting to go up at the Northside Fire Station. So that's exciting news. It's starting to take shape. So if you haven't seen that, go drive by it, check it out. And then as far as Planning Commission, we do have another opening on the Planning Commission. And so please, if you are interested in joining that group, please get your applications in. That's all that I have for tonight.
Great. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to try to read from my notes that I have scratched over the days. I've had a very busy day, so forgive me if I feel like I have to go back and forth to get all of the things in. I will start with Traffic Safety Commission. They actually entertained Clackamas County representative zoomed in to talk about the Knights Bridge project that is afoot. That bridge was built in 1964 and it is in great need of some seismic upgrades and just some refurbing. They've already had to lower the weight limit on it, and so we're looking at having to lower it again possibly if we don't do this. So they were able to get a grant, and so they only have to pay 10% of the cost of this project. So the $3.6 million rehab will cost the county $360,000. Of course, these are approximate numbers. It'll be a seismic upgrade. It'll keep the deck on the pillars. So if there was an event, the deck won't slide off into the river. So that's a good thing. The construction process, it's could happen in the years 23, 24. It depends on the permitting process. Unfortunately, the permitting process is super slow right now. What used to take 6 to 10 months is now taking 18 to 24 months. So they're really hoping that they can get it on the 23-year calendar. But that road will be closed during the project. So Clackamas County will be working with the city on detour routes, because obviously you can't get from Knights Bridge to Arndt Road that way for roughly 4 to 8 months worth of work. So that'll be happening. There were some things that were brought up that actually the county person didn't even know about the ODOT working on 99E in about the same time frame. So county is now going to be talking to each other and trying to kind of coordinate all of those things so that we can maybe lessen some of the headaches for our commuters here in town. They're also going to be working on how the signage is pretty unclear on the truck routes in that area. They're still working on the enterprise rental-car issue over on 2nd and 3rd. And they're also going to look at, actually, it's not even going to be looked at. Jerry already told us there'll be a 4-way stop coming at Territorial by Public Works. That's already kind of in the works, but he doesn't think it will absolutely coincide with the expected July 1st opening of the North Side Station. So there'll be a little bit of delay, but we will have a 4-way stop there eventually, which will help everything for Canby Fire to get in and out. And that's where we are with the Traffic Safety Commission. Today, I attended a multi-chamber event in Wilsonville regarding tolling. Commissioner Paul Savas and Senator Bill Cannemer were there to present. I unfortunately have zero good news. They were quite discouraged, actually. The BCC, the Board of County Commissioners, issued a letter to the OTC, Oregon Transportation Commission. Sorry, Mr. Parker. In 2018, but a lot of those items were still true today. There's still concern about diversion, lack of secondary routes, and those kinds of things. Those things all still ring true. Senator Cannemer introduced Bill SJR 204 to start a discussion around these items that people are worried about. And unfortunately, the majority party has the committee chairs and absolutely cannot get a hearing on this bill at all. So the questions in the room, where do we have a voice? How can we put in input? I felt sorry for Mr. Cannemer when he had to keep telling these people, unfortunately, you can't. So it is what it is. So therefore, what has been born is IP 41. There's an initiative petition. It's got the initial signatures already approved. They're just waiting for the Attorney General. Actually, the Attorney General's approved their ballot title. They're just waiting for the Secretary of State to give the blessing and hand out the sheets. So there will be a petition. It'll be a constitutional amendment that anyone in a 15-mile radius of a proposed tolling project would go to a vote of those voters. So that information on that can be found on a website called No Toll Army. And I've already heard from the Clackamas County representative on this project, so I will have petitions in hand if anyone's interested. That's a later date. But you can find out more information on that website. There's also an opportunity. There was some frustration about the concern about the impact on Clackamas County businesses, and the fact that Clackamas County has kind of been singled out as the starting point for this tolling project in the state. So the businesses were concerned about employers losing employees because they didn't want to pay the toll to get to and from work. They're worried about businesses, them losing a customer base because I can go to this business and not pay a toll, or I can go to this business and pay a toll. So they're worried about that impact as well. There's two phases of this tolling. One is the tolling to pay for the Abernathy Bridge. And then there's the second phase, which is the congestion pricing. And apparently there's not a lot of clarity on how those dollars will be spent. So there is an opportunity for public input through the Oregon Transportation Commission. So you need to go to their website to weigh in on that. I think I got the guts of it. I'm back and forth and on my little chicken scratching from the day here. Yeah. And there was also some current concern about people having a tracker on their car, and that kind of thing was all mentioned in today's meeting. There was quite a few people there. It was a representation of all the area chambers. It was Canby, Wilsonville, Westland, Oregon City, North Clackamas, Sherwood, Tualatin, Laco. I'm probably forgetting someone. I apologize. But it was well attended. There was a lot of robust conversation. Unfortunately, no good news. But on a good note, I will say I also had the pleasure of meeting Lori Tarter today. Today was her first day of work for the Canby Area Chamber of Commerce. She is the replacement for Kyle Lang. And she was there today for her first day. She got thrown into that fire. So, well, we had a good chat and welcome Lori to Canby. She lives in Wilsonville, but she's working here for our chamber. So welcome to Canby, Lori, and it was nice meeting you today. And I think that is all I have today, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate that very much. There is another kind of ODOT update on I-205 coming up through the Clackamas County Business Alliance. They're going to be doing one on Friday, February 25th. It is a Zoom piece, so you can go to the Clackamas County Business Alliance website and register if you want to be a part of that and get an update on very much kind of what some more of the details of what Council President Hensley was talking about. It is the value pricing piece is a big bone of contention besides the tolling aspect, because we haven't heard yet what that value pricing is going to look like. Congestion pricing is going to look like. Times of the day that's going to be used. What are those amounts going to look like? Is it just periods of time? There's still a lot of questions and conversations going on regarding the impact on lower income families. What is that going to look like? Yes, Clackamas County is going to be taking the full frontal brunt of this initial project. And so there is a lot of concern in Clackamas County on what that looks like. And we know from our own conversations, right, that much of the residents of Clackamas County do travel to Multnomah County and Washington County for their employment. And so, what is that going to look like? So definitely quite a bit there. Councilor Varwig, a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on Councilor Hensley mentioning our new chamber director, Lori Tarter. I actually have spent time working with her through the Wilsonville Chamber, and I just wanted to say that if there ever was a person who was going to be able to fill Kyle's shoes, Lori is that person. So Canby is in a really good spot with Lori as its new CEO. So just wanted to add that.
Great. Thank you, sir. Council President Hensley, did you remember something?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to make sure we were still on target for having ODOT come to our council meeting on the 2nd of March, because I did actually encounter some folks from Charbonneau who would like to zoom in and listen to that talk, because, of course, any diversion through Canby will also affect Aurora and Charbonneau areas, and so they're very interested in hearing about it. So I just wanted, I guess that question is for Scott. I just wanted to make sure that they are still on target to come for that meeting, and when will the Zoom link be available? That's all I have on that.
Thank you.
The answer to that is yes. We have ODOT scheduled for a presentation regarding tolling at our next meeting, so March 2nd, and the Zoom link will be available when the agenda is posted, which is typically about a week before the meeting. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I got everybody. My screen shifted. Oh, now we're back. So we got everybody. So we're going to move into city administrator business and staff reports. And Mr. Archer, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one item for you tonight, and I think it's an item that is very exciting. I'm glad to be able to share this with you. So our downtown entry arch project, we will be, or I should say the contractor working for us will be installing the Canby sign on the arch on the 25th of February. So February 25th, I don't know the exact time, but as probably similar to when the arch itself went up, I'm sure they'll be doing that in the early morning hours. There'll probably be a crane on site and some good picture opportunities. We'll take pictures of that, but the Canby sign is going up on the arch on the 25th. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Councilor Spoon, did you have a comment or question?
I did have a quick comment. I mean, it feels like a long time ago now when we were initially discussing the design of the arch. One of the many possibilities we had talked about is that, first off, I love the seating. The benches went in. It looks like a nice place for community. Was potentially having some sort of water fountain there. We don't really have any potable water for the public right now in our downtown compared to other communities. Did that ever? I mean, I didn't see any, so I assume it didn't make the final design, but I guess I just wanted an update. We had originally talked about potentially a water fountain there, maybe even a little part at the bottom for people walking their dogs. You know, you have that little dog part, but if it didn't make the design, that's fine. I just was wondering because I didn't see anything.
Councilor Spoon, I do not know what the history of why that didn't end up, but I don't believe that is part of the current project, and I'm not sure the why and the how. That was prior to my time, but I'll find out and also inquire as to if that's something that we could consider at some point. I do understand. Yeah, I don't think we have any public drinking fountains in our downtown. So we'll look into that.
Okay. That's it for us, Mr. Archer?
That's all I have tonight.
Slow couple weeks here in the city, or you just taking it easy on us tonight?
Just taking it easy on you. We've got plenty of motion.
Oh, I know that there is. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilor Varga, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I believe that we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have drinking fountains at Waite Park. Do we not have them at Waite Park? So that would probably be the closest to downtown that we have them.
Yeah, we do. I was just thinking as we attract more and more people and have more and more people walking around, it would be a nice addition where possible. We don't really have a plan around it. I just was curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. It's our second opportunity for citizen input. Maya, do we have anyone that wishes to address the council on stuff from our agenda this evening?
No, we do not.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We will go into action review.
You have approved the consent agenda and ordinance number 1568.
Perfect. Maya, good job.
Thank you.
We're actually not going to take a motion to adjourn, but I will take a motion for the council to move into executive session. We will be going into exec session to discuss potential or current litigation. So,
Sorry, I move that we move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed.
I'll second.
all right, motion's been made by Councilor Spoon to move into exec session under ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of the public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed, and seconded by Council President Hensley. All those in favor? All right. As a reminder, executive sessions are closed to the public. Representatives of the news media and designated staff may attend executive sessions. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No executive session may be held for the purpose of taking final action or making final decisions. It looks like it was anyone opposed from going into exec session. Did I ask that? Okay, we're good. Canby, good night, council. I'll see you in our exec session here shortly. Thank you, and have a great evening, Canby.